Hi everyone, it's Dr. Ramani. Let's talk about the 7 different ways narcissists punish you. So, punishment is a classical part of narcissistic relationships. They punish you if they think you criticize them. They punish you if you express a need. They punish you if you question their inappropriate behavior. They punish you if you try to give them feedback. Narcissistic relationships are a gift that just keeps on giving when it comes to any form of punishment. In a narcissistic relationship, there's always a punishment that's hanging out there, waiting to happen. One wrong move and you will face their wrath. Because vindictiveness is such a classical part of the narcissistic pattern, a sort of way of avenging ego injuries, the punishments are a way for them to maintain control and keep you forever watching your every word and move. So let's break this down. The first way they punish is by withholding. Now, this can play out in lots of ways. The silent treatment, stonewalling, giving you short, abrupt answers, not telling you what they're doing and just doing it, just leaving and doing their own thing with no communication, not being forthcoming with information, not being affectionate or withholding affection or communication. They just withhold, and that's how they punish. In some ways, you might think, well, this could be really peaceful, but really when you're in it, it feels weird and tense, especially if also other people, like kids or other people, are in the house or in the situation. They withhold everything and it becomes a game. Now, one way, to get okay with this is to stop making any kind of life with them collaborative. Maybe dinner just gets made twice. You make something and they still order something despite you telling them that you're making dinner. So at that point, what are you going to do? Just radically accept. You having to chase them down for information or just having to chase them down for just themselves is how they control and lash out at you. Like a sullen little kid who is tantruming and saying, I'm not going to go to school today. All right, then walk around them and let them miss school. The second way they punish you is rage. Now, this can be on a continuum from garden variety noisy anger all the way to violence. If they are mad at you, they will lash out and it can be loud and messy and scary. This is a common reaction from many narcissistic people, but by all means not all. More than a few narcissistic people actually don't show rage. It's almost like for them it's too messy a look and it's out of control. They are going to be more likely to do the withholding, passive aggression, humiliation kind of stuff because they don't want to look dysregulated. But if this is a rage that is seeming to escalate, I'm always going to tell you, make sure you have a safety plan. There's no workaround for rage. There's no radical acceptance that makes it easier. It's unsettling, and ultimately it will take a toll on your health. The rage is also a way for them to punish you even when they are not actively raging, because it means that you and everyone else around them is walking on eggshells. A third way they punish you is they become passive-aggressive and sulky. Now, this expands on the withholding, but it is not just the sullen, silent treatment. It's also passive-aggressive barbs or hurtful jokes at your expense. They may watch you struggle to do something and say something like, oh, well, I guess you aren't Superwoman after all. Or they may wait until the very last minute to drive you to the airport, despite you being very clear about the time you needed to leave, leaving you almost missing a flight. And initially, they may have poked fun at you for wanting to leave so early, wanting to allow a reasonable amount of time and stressing the hell out of you. Or there are those little jabs, dramatically putting up their feet up on the couch and then saying, well, I guess my contributions around here will never be noticed. Or you ask them to do something like, could you go to the store and grab some groceries? And they'll hit back with, there's nothing more than what a busy person like me would love more than to go and get your groceries. They just become a bratty pain in the neck. And depending on the nature of your trauma bonding, you may vacillate between wanting to soothe them, reassure them, yell at them, or just lay down and cry out of frustration. The fourth way they'll punish you is public humiliation. You'll be out with them, maybe in a group of friends or family or even colleagues, and they'll start insulting or making fun of you. Oh, well, should we share the story of how you passed out drunk on the night of your brother's wedding? And you'll feel mortified and might try to make light of it and hope they won't share it and say, no thanks. But the narcissistic person will press on. It's a power play. Now, the wise and smart people in the group will know that the narcissistic person is just being an asshole. But for you to have to sit there and withstand it because you don't want to be the one to make a fuss or to have to endure being mocked for being the one who is making the fuss means that you can't win. This may also come up if maybe you mispronounce something on the menu, and then they may say something like, oh, my date will have a glass of the Merlot, but you can bring me a glass of the Merlot. Another way they will publicly humiliate you is perhaps by sharing gossip that you had shared with them in secrecy. And perhaps at a family dinner, they might turn around and say to your sister, I'm glad to see that the two of you are getting along. Your sister's been talking smack about you recently, so it's good to see that you are getting along. This is not only humiliating, but it can crush a relationship you have with someone else. Number 5 way they punish you are smear campaigns. It's not enough for them to just punish you. They need an army. So they start sharing untruths about you on social media to anyone who will listen. It's done with enough innuendo and just under the radar enough that you may not be able to get them on slander or libel or defamation, but could be done enough to you to do some harm to your reputation or your relationships. They will mobilize flying monkeys. They will really try to do a number on how people view you. And this can, like I said, not only hurt relationships, but also potentially harm your career. A 6th way they punish you is through menace and threats. Now, the menacing kind of behavior may be more of the province of the malignant narcissist. You can plan on them maintaining this sort of chronically hovering sense of threat. They may sort of drive by the places you go to or drive by your house slowly or use fake accounts to stalk you and may even say, watch your back. They may threaten you with legal action or send you creepy texts and emails from addresses and numbers you don't recognize. All of this adds up to making the world feel like a dangerous place, and you may start restricting your movements and just feel less safe in the world. The 7th way they punish you is they flaunt their new life. As much as a narcissist leaving you ultimately could be the best thing that happens to you, you may not recognize that in the beginning. They may punish you by flaunting their fabulous new life, great vacations, being in great shape, and showing it off in various states of undress online. And if this is an intimate relationship, the ultimate knife through the heart, the pictures of the new love bombing situation. Loved up comments like, I never knew I would know a love story like this, or so this is what love feels like. And they'll have their new target on display for all the world to see. If it's a divorce, they may parade your children around on a vacation happily. If it's your family, it may be pictures of smiles at a family reunion that you opted not to attend. If it's friends, it may be pictures from a party you weren't invited to or a night out together. Remember, you know the reality. The pictures may be painful, but you know the reality. Number 8 way narcissists punish you is with money. Narcissists punish with money. It's what they do. And from a probability standpoint, they often have more of it than the rest of us. So whether it's a divorce where they are content that the attorneys will actually get more money than your kids, or a family that cuts you out of family trust assets that are inequitably split. If you try to leave or take a stand in the relationship, they will use money as a weapon. This can be really difficult for people in these relationships who acknowledge that money is why they are stuck. And honestly, if I had $1 for every person who said the financial abuse in the post-separation or the boundary setting period of the relationship destroyed them for years, well, then I could give all of that money to the people being punished in narcissistic relationships using money. Whether it is in a divorce where the narcissist says they are going to drag you into court over the cost of shoelaces for your kids, or a narcissistic sibling who punishes you by manipulating parents into giving up lots of money to them once you set a boundary with the sibling. Using an essential resource like money, especially for folks who are financially vulnerable, that's common. And they will often use it to entice you and then pull it back when you do not do what they want. A ninth way they punish you is they do the "I told you so." While in the long run, leaving or ending or distancing will be good for you, initially it may be difficult. Expensive divorces, financial struggles, challenges, finding a new job, or getting a new venture off the ground, the fear of being alone, and you may be struggling and stumbling a bit. They may sort of smugly roll up and tell you that maybe you got ahead of yourself and do the "I told you so," sort of like, "I told you so, life was going to be hard without me." Punishment is a part of every narcissistic relationship. Vindictiveness is one more way they fortify their fragile egos. If you dare cross them, critique them, set boundaries with them, or heaven help, you actually end the relationship, they will ensure that you pay. The punishment can feel as difficult as the relationship, and sometimes result in people wanting to give up boundary setting and detachment just to make the punishment stop. And that's just the way the narcissistic folks like it, to be able to use punishment to keep you forever their prisoner.